Today, we're going to talk about a difficult topic. And yes, astrology does cover difficult skies because the sky can be beneficial and sometimes more hardship oriented. We're coming into a really difficult part of the sky on May the 20th. You may start to feel it 3 days before, maybe up to 5 days after. As Mars comes into an opposition with Pluto, this is going to engage an asteroid that has to do as well with the idea of armors, and weapons. And that's because the asteroid Hephaestus, the fourth smith of the gods, is sitting with Jupiter, and Jupiter is forming a T-square, a very tense aspect pattern to both Pluto, between that Pluto Mars opposition. We're also going to talk about the star Sham, which is also sitting with Pluto, that has to do with the shaft of the arrow and the constellation associated with the arrow. In other words, there's something about arrows, armories, weapons that's going to be very active in our collective sky as a result of this very difficult particular window of time. Now, I'm going to give you a backdrop for the larger story about how this is happening in our time of our sky that we haven't seen since about 1718 to 1797. And we're also going to talk about what it might mean politically in terms of the environment, in terms of actually really gnarly events. Sorry, guys. We're also, though, going to talk about your sign and how it might play out for you. Because for some of us, it might just be a personal conflict. Like this is Mars going through my 7th house of marriage, and I might have a fight with my partner or something like that. So keep in mind that our personal stories are not as catastrophic as what can happen for the collective. And also, finally, if you're new to my channel, my name is Lori Lothian. I'm using the whole sign house system, and I'm using Western tropical zodiac, not sidereal. I am also deeply into the meaningfulness of the minor asteroids, of which there are 24,000 named asteroids in the asteroid belt. If you want to learn a little bit more about that, I have a free product I'm giving away. I've given away more than 1,100 copies of my amazing asteroids class. Check the description box below for the freebies, and you might want to grab that, and you can begin to plot the devil is in the details of your sky. I do readings, I teach classes. I have a newsletter and a Patreon community. There's great benefits to being a part of all of those things. If you want to check the description box below, go ahead. Unfortunately, I'm not booked. I have no openings until November. We'll have to open my calendar up again. I'm fully booked as of now. So sorry, guys. All right, so let's get going and talk all about what happens when Pluto and Mars oppose each other in the sky. Now, it might help to show you what the sky looks like before we talk about the stars and etc. in this story. Sham is the star we'll be talking about today, as well as the asteroid Athestos. So here we have the sky, and there's a lot going on in all around the sky. These are the very basic planets. But let's take a look at this Mars. On May 20th, this is set for Vancouver, Canada, coming into the oppositional point to Pluto. Now, some of you who are already astrologers or quite smart about this stuff know that Pluto is in Aquarius until June 11th. That was just a tiptoe in from the 3rd week of March. He is retrograding. He's a slow guy. He retrogrades for almost half a year every year. All said and done, I don't really notice the retrogrades personally. If you do, let me know. Pluto retrograde is more like a collective story, whereas Pluto he's heading back to Capricorn. What was he doing in Capricorn? He was creating a lot of discontent since 2008. Subprime loan scandal, the Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter, Capricorn rules people of color. He was disrupting the status quo in the corporatocracy and bureaucratic and governmental systems. He was trying to transform it. He's going back there where he also was involved in how that pandemic began in 2020. Without going into details, themes that I just mentioned are coming back. He won't get back there till June 11th, but before he returns to Capricorn in his backward motion, he's like, people power, we the people, people power for the people. We'll see things like class action lawsuits. We'll see rebellion. We'll see revolutions as Pluto goes through the sign of Aquarius. Well, yeah, we'll see AI and a bunch of other stuff, as well as breakthrough inventions. This is all going to be true until 2044. But as he goes backwards right now, he's trundling backwards very slowly. And at the same time, Mars is moving rather quickly, and he's entered into Leo. Now, Mars in Leo is full of heat and fire and passion and daring and boldness and really intense energy, of course, because he's in a fire sign. And often Mars in Leo is about fire and drought, things that are hot in the weather. So drought, yes. Fires, yes. Mars goes through Leo approximately once every 2 years. It does vary. And as he goes through the sign, expect global stories breaking through of massive heat waves, potentially droughts, and as well, of course, fires. And already in Canada, we're having a terrible wildfire season in the prairies, in Calgary, or in the province of Alberta. So expect those stories to break into the news cycle as well during the May 20th to the 25th. And it may have already started wherever you live. Mars has been approaching this opposition for a while. It kind of goes exact though on the 20th, because that's when he crosses the fence into Leo. These are intense energies, folks. Leo is also aggressive energy, fire energy, and he's looking at Pluto. And this is kind of like, well, this is like bombs going off, or this could be like explosions, and this could also be acts of terrorism. And there's intense, catalytic energy here. A lot of this could be earth and earthquakes and things. I don't want to scare you, but things to do with the earth. And with Saturn in Pisces, tsunami is a possibility as a result of a quake. Things like nuclear reactors leaking or blowing up, or tsunami type events or terrorist type events all have the signature of the sky, as well as, I hate to say it, assassination. Why am I saying assassination? Jupiter means king. He's even there with Sun, who also means king, and is Jupiter in a square to Pluto, is also in a square to Mars. And this is one of those formations that can occur during the time of some sort of leader dying, or maybe a leader being killed, or some mishap with a world leader. Now, I'm curious and interested by the two things that I think are about weapons, weaponry, missiles, explosive devices, weapons, because the star that's sitting on Pluto is called Sham, and I did some research on it. It is the brightest star in the constellation of the Arrow, and it is the star in the middle of the Arrow, on the shaft of the Arrow. And the constellation in Arabic, Sham, means the arrow. And without going into a lot more detail, Pluto is sitting on the arrow. There is a story about the arrow. It's the arrow that was used in a narrative from the Greek mythology. And maybe that'll help us understand some of the meaning of what's going on with this arrow energy that's being activated. So to say it is, I'm going to read a little bit from the back end of Constellation of Words, which I really enjoy in terms of understanding the stories behind the stars. Okay. So I'm just shooting through, and I'm going to read to you. Yes, it is the arrow with which Hercules slew the eagle Aquila that fed upon the liver of Prometheus. So Prometheus, for stealing fire from the gods and giving the fire to the humans, was basically stuck up on a rock for a long time, and to eternal damnation and suffering, as an eagle was eating his liver. And so Hercules was basically saving the day with this arrow. It's very possible that we could say that something is going to happen that, even while it has a lot of hardship involved, it is actually an act of mercy, or does something positive for the collective, because who wants to be chained, to a rock with somebody eating your liver? According to Ptolemy, the constellation itself, which is called Sagitta, is the nature of Saturn and moderately like Venus. Okay. There's also another particular resource that said it's the nature of Mars and Venus, but both say Mars. So Bayer says Mars and Venus, and Ptolemy says Saturn and a little bit like Venus. Well, Venus, of course, is a benefic, so it's poison with a sweet side, I guess. I will also say, the word poisoned arrow comes to mind. Mars rules poisons as well as sharp objects and cutting objects and explosive devices and weaponry in war. So the worst case with this story, like, it would be truly the worst. It would be some kind of biological poison or agent involved in war that has a devastating and shocking effect on the world, or in the area in which it happens. There's no more poison arrow than a nuclear device. So a missile of great poison, radiation poisoning, believe it or not, and you're going to think I'm crazy, but my partner and I stocked up on iodine, because if you have any kind of radiation in the atmosphere, iodine keeps the cesium, for instance, from nuclear power plants going into your thyroid, etc. So it can be a good way to get around being as sick as all that. Anything else I want to say? The astrological influences. Okay. According to Manilius, the ancient astrologer, the arrow will bestow the skill of hurtling the javelin with the arm, of shooting the arrow from the string and missiles from rods, and of hitting a bird on the wing in the sky so that it is home, or piercing with three-pronged spear the fish that deemed itself so safe. What constellation or nativity should I rather have given to Ser? To what degree should I prefer to assign Philocletes, his bow enabled to Ser to repel the flaming torches of Hector, which threatened to fire upon 1,000 ships, carrying in his quiver the fate of Troy and the Trojan War? Philocletes or Tetes, I can't read it, who tarried in exile, proved a foe more potent than the armored host. Okay, so it's a war story, guys. Like, it's basically a war story, right? So we're talking about a spear. In a modern day, we don't hit people with spears or knives. We do it with guns and arrows and guns and missiles. So let's just not pretend that this is like going to be necessarily a positive indication of this particular sky. Next, I'm making this a little bigger. Next, maybe I'll just annotate for a sec. Okay, so look, there we have it, Pluto. There we have Mars. Pluto is sitting with Sham, and I just described the meaning of Sham. And then we're going to talk next about the fact that you also experience this Jupiter at 0 degrees of Taurus, just got in there with that little signal next to him, sigil, whatever, which is Hephaestos, the husband of Venus. I always call him the wife. He was deformed. He was ugly. He's next to Jupiter. Is there a deformed or ugly king in our world? World leader, powerful person. If so, if there's someone we consider deformed or unattractive or ugly who has a limp or whatever, that could be just a literal signal that that person is in harm's way. Second of all, this is also the armorer of the gods, the forge smith of the gods. Basically, what Hephaestus did is he also made weapons for the gods of Mount Olympus. So again, we have something to do with the word weapons, and this is really uncanny. So what kind of weapons-oriented event may occur around the 20th of May? Okay, they could definitely bring some shock to the world, because Uranus always brings shock and Mercury brings shocking news. And we still see king and world leader energy up here. So I could be wrong. I have no idea what this really is. Honestly, astrology is nothing but good guesswork and hopefully some decent intuition. In the United States Sibyl chart, for example, this is happening in the 6th house, which this Jupiter is in the 6th house, which is really, well, first of all, it can mean hidden enemies. It's one of the ways to parse that, because it's the opponents that we see are the 7th house, and before we see them, they're in the 6th. So it just like sneaky opponents that are going to come up and, target something in the United States. It's also the working class and the labor markets and the economy in the United States, FYI. In the United States, we have Pluto in their chart in the 2nd house, which is a money house, and we have Mars in the back end of the Sorry, I have to double check my math. Yeah, we have Mars up there in 6, 7, 8, 9 in the 9th house of foreign shores, foreign lands, and foreign countries. So again, some kind of sneaky enemy in a foreign country. If it's going to involve the United States Sibyl chart, it could be something like that. I am definitely concerned, though, with Taiwan being involved, as well as South Asia, in the recent eclipse that we had in the lunar eclipse of Cinco de Mayo. If I remember correctly. But anyway, there is literally also the possibility of some difficult circumstances being announced and coming to the world regarding China, Taiwan, the United States, or we could go back to that Russia-Ukraine story. Whatever it is, get ready, get set. Some people in astrology are making this quite daunting and talking about get your, rations or whatever. I will say this. Of course, the whole world can't be affected usually by one thing. Not unless we have an asteroid hitting the Earth or notice that an asteroid will hit the Earth or something like that. But I do have a feeling that this will be the most defining month of 2023, that we may look back at May of 2023, especially May, 19th to the 25th, and we may be telling each other stories for a long time. Where were you when JFK was assassinated, that kind of thing? Where were you when the trade towers went down? What do you remember about that time? I don't want to be so dark, but it is not the easiest sky. Of course, Pluto and Mars will oppose each other approximately every 2 years, all the way through to 2043. But it's just because of Jupiter sitting in Taurus that I'm making a big deal about this. And that makes a T-square. That's where I'm getting this intensity around war, world leaders, leadership, hidden enemies, terrorist events, and such things as that. And anything else I want to say about this gnarly sky? The sun is the dispositor or the ruler of the place where Mars is sitting. So Mars has to take orders from or bow to the sun. The sun is anaretic. It's a degree of turbulence and calamity and challenge and difficulty for the most part. It also is a fame degree. So famous leader, shocking, upsetting news about a famous leader could be happening, famous world leader, as a result of this. And we can also make note that Saturn is the dispositor or rules the house where Pluto is sitting. Saturn is busy swimming through the Pisces Sea, hitting up Neptune. Again, could we have some sea global calamity, something that happens at sea? Aircraft carrier downed at sea, aircraft carrier going to battle at sea, tsunami, sea, ocean, water issues, challenges, etc. Lastly, but not leastly, this Algol new moon on the 19th, Algol infused new moon in Taurus, will trip up a part of the sky that was very active in November of 2021. That was the peak of the New York Stock Exchange. And then ever since that eclipse in November of 21 on fixed tower Algol, also on the sun of the United States Stock Exchange, that eclipse triggered the downtrend in the markets that has been in play ever since. That was the all-time high at 17,000 something in the New York Stock Exchange, and now everything has been going down since then. Now, could it turn it around? Who knows? But that I talked about that. Check out my intense new moon in Taurus video, because that Algol placement is about corpses and calamity and death and off with their heads and shocking events. When you think of a head of state, right? The word head of state and off with their heads, you get my drift, right? Sorry, I shouldn't smile. This is not funny. Okay, moving on. I'm going to talk a little bit about the archetypes of Pluto and Archetypal Universe by one of my teachers, Ren Butler. And then we're going to go really quickly through all signs. I'm not going to belabor it because I think this is more of a big world event, but there will be something that could occur in your life as a result of this. And so we will do the all signs as soon as I finish reading to you a little bit about Mars, Pluto. So on the positive side, Mars and Pluto, because Mars is considered personal willpower, Pluto is divine or cosmic willpower, they are in opposition. Where do you need to surrender to some kind of bigger vision, higher willpower, and let go of your little self? I'm just making that up. That's like not in this book, but in the book, we have intense willpower, courage, drive, passion, determined efforts towards rejuvenation, renewal, and a volcanic catharsis. And on the dark side, the shadow, we have tendencies toward brute force, ruthlessness, overexertion, pushing too hard, or vulgar or coarse sexuality. So when we go to the dark side again, we can have things like death. Well, this is not necessarily dark side, but commanding, dominating, dangerous, ruthless characters, for example. He uses some examples in fiction and mythology: fire-breathing dragons, blood and thunders, pyrocatharsis, which means fire, man. Pyrocatharsis, unleashing the fires of hell. Convulsions, raging one's way towards freedom, cathartic convulsions, driving volcanic forces. This could be a volcanic eruption. I didn't think of that. Yes, you get the gist, right? Volcanic eruptions, Pluto, Mars, hot, heat, lava, eruptions, and Uranus kind of saying sudden, unexpected. No one knew that, this was going to erupt. So earthquakes, volcanoes, missiles, war, toxic poisonous things in the environment are all kind of possible. And hopefully none of this happens. Hopefully this is all like just overblown speculation and we don't see anything occur. Let's talk about it afterward. If you're in my live premiere and you forgot to hit my like button, please do so. It helps my channel grow, and I appreciate all my regulars here. Misbehaving, L.A. Taylor, Mercury the Message, Jupiter 8, I can't remember everybody. The Crystalline Alchemist, Herbal Empress, Ace of Spades. You guys, who you guys are. The Pharaoh Writer, and on and on and on. We have a crew of regulars who come into the chat every single time I do a YouTube premiere, which I'm there chatting with them as we watch the content together and making astrological conversation lively, but getting to know each other as well from all around the world. If you're new to my channel, then if you hit the like button and subscribe, you're going to know that I'm posting a premiere video and you can come check in with us and hang out. I post about 20 to 29 videos a month, and most of those have premieres. All right. So let's talk about each sign without making it overly daunting. Remember that Pluto opposite Mars last happened between 1718 and 1797, and that involved French Revolution, that involved the foundation of America and the revolution of that era as well. I'm pretty well sure if you go back through time, and I could do that, I did write the dates down, you're going to find revolution upon revolution upon revolution. For example, in 1287 to 1306, I hope I'm not wrong, but that could have been a Black Plague period, 1532 to 1551 and onward. And then again, here we are, May of 23 to May of 2043. Okay, this pattern of Mars in Leo opposing Pluto in Aquarius is beginning again. Let's go through the signs, and I'm going to give you a brief rundown of how this intensity in the sky can play out for your sign. I do it the way I'm going to do it? I think I'm going to show you the screen again. That way, when my sister is time stamping, it's easy for her. And also for you guys, you get to learn astrology a bit better than when you're just looking at my face, talking to you about it. You can visualize the sky yourself, right? So the T-square is the red thingy here. I'm going to get rid of, well, I'd say during this T-square formation, the moon in Gemini is the sign of brothers or twins. And so again, it could be the Ukraine war, because of course they are neighbors to each other. I'm going to simplify the sky briefly so that it's not so complicated. I'm going to take out Venus. I'm going to take out the moon. I'm going to make it much easier to look at. Goodbye, Venus. Goodbye, moon. Isn't that an old goodbye, moon? Going to take out Chiron. I'll leave Saturn in there, because, he's important, Saturn. Take out Neptune, take out Chiron. I'm not doing a lot of Chiron stuff, as you guys noticed in my videos. I like all of minor asteroids, but I don't know. I've never been really big on putting Chiron in. I find he's more interior than he is exterior. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. You want to know more about Chiron and your life's purpose, etc.? I'm having a Chiron class coming up at the end of the month. You just have to go to my website and check out Learn Astrology, and you can sign up for any of my classes. Okay, so let's begin. May the 20th looks like this. Drum roll, please. And we're going to start with Aries. And you could just watch this little triangle navigate around the sky and continually change, right? That's the whole point. This red triangle called a T-square. I just want to get Aries queued, so give me a minute. My software is stalled, and I think that's the Mercury station to go direct, but he's still moving very slow. So I am having a lot of software glitches for some reason, or computer slowdown. Okay, here we go. Okay, so Aries sun, Aries moon, and especially Aries rising. Rising may be more accurate for you. You may experience this energy, or will potentially experience this energy as an Aries rising, especially as some kind of disruptive, confrontational intensity of power or willpower between 5th house and 11th house themes. 11th house are your friends and allies and social networks. It's also the great gains you make from your 10th house of career. And you can see that Mars is in opposition. Mars rules children, lovers, and creative projects, as well as independent business enterprise. For some of you, there is a lot of tension between maybe a child and a friend of yours, or between your lover and your social group, or between a creative project or independent business enterprise that you want to passionately engage, and some kind of greater willpower blockage up in the 11th house of great gains that seems to be resisting that. It's a short-lived event, the 19th to the 20th, so then therefore it can be an argument with a lover or a conflict with a child, for example. Yet there's some kind of pointedness around this Jupiter thing, which is trying to resolve it. So Jupiter here at the tip of the T-square is kind of saying, okay, an opportunity, wealth and prosperity in your earnings house that you need to forge, Hephaestos, something here, maybe to do with new ideas that come through in a download, Mercury, Uranus. Maybe you are the one who will change your earnings strategy based on an aha that also allows you then to go in a new direction in your business model, because Mars is about new directions as well. But you may face some superior control and resistance from Pluto. Pluto here can be about an elder sibling as well, who's being dominant. You could even have a clash between an elder sibling and one of your children, and you're in the middle of it all trying to figure out how to be a peacemaker from the second house of speech, where Jupiter's trying to act like King Solomon. That's an example of what I mean. I'm going to take the sun out because the sun is actually with the stellium, but moving into Gemini on the 21st, and therefore it is not going to be useful to have it in the story as we move through the sky here together. Anything else? It's a short-lived thing. Lay low. Don't blow it with a child. Don't blow it with a child about a money issue, for example. Don't blow it with a friend in a confrontation with a lover, that kind of thing. Don't let an elder sibling ruin your day by dismissing your lover or child or something like that. You know, one of the things about a T-square, everybody, is that there's a theory that, first of all, two theories. Mars has its most effect after perfecting an aspect, okay? Was that true or not? I don't know. So that's why I'm saying it's in play till the 25th. But also, there's an idea that where the T-square out pictures, right? The opposite place is where you're going to have the release and the relief from the tension. So let's go with that idea. If you're in Aries, then you're releasing the second house tip of the T-square tension about earnings and cash flow and resources and possessions. And you're releasing the tension into the 8th, which is other people's money, inheritances, chunky money, shared resource money, taxes, and loans. Venus is the lord of the tip of the T-square. Real estate, property, and legacy wealth can be blowing up through the sky during this 5 days of the 20th to the 25th. Sorry about that. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising, especially rising. Obviously, you're going to be at the epicenter of this T-square. It's really pointed just at you. You are Jupiter, acting magnanimous, king-like, and bounteous, acting larger than life, hopefully not grandiose and megalomaniac, but big energy in the house of you. Certainly, if your rising sign, sun or moon, is in the first 5 degrees of Taurus, this is impressively intense for you. And Pluto is in the 10th house of career. This is a tyrant or a boss or a dominator or just a powerful person in the field of your career and purpose or in the career and workspace. And this is, and your reputation up there. And it's squaring off with your own identity, but also this powerful energy in the 10th house is opposite something going on in the 4th house. Property, home, land, real estate. There's a lot going on here for some of you Tauruses, especially rising sign. You could have a conflict, a fight, or an argument with somebody in your domestic home life, someone you're living with. Or you could have a fire in your home, please be careful. Or an injury or accident in your home, please be careful, especially the first 5 degrees of Taurus. But that's opposite or opposing Pluto in the career space. You have an accident, you break a leg, you can't go to work for 2 weeks, but you didn't want to anyway. Higher will over personal will. You want to renovate the house, you want to do contractual things, but there's some powerful force opposing you in a dominant position that doesn't allow you to do that, because I mean Mars here can bring a lot of renovations. You know, I did a whole video about Mars going through Leo. Please check it out, everybody. But this beginning is gnarly, right? It's really intense. And with Venus ruling the house of your body and your identity while she's in the 3rd house, watch as well for connections to siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, and nieces and nephews that you may be having a fracture with, or property opportunities, but tension and explosivity, because properties that involve the neighborhood, especially establishments like retail establishments, can be involved in this T-square. For some of you, this could be quitting your job, changing your job, getting fired from your job, but there may be a golden opportunity for a new job in the local neighborhood if that's something that interests you. Saturn's trying to lend support from the house of elder siblings, friends as allies and benefactors, trying to soften some of the intensity that you will be experiencing May 21st or so. Well, May 20th to the 25th. Look for allies and elder people, older people, especially older friends, and an elder sibling to support you in a time of some turbulence. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, if you're a Gemini, you're going to experience this Mars energy in your third house opposite Pluto in your ninth. This is an axis of travel, an axis of education, an axis of spirituality. So there's a lot going on those themes here. You could have a powerful person, like an academic person. Pluto could be a professor with control issues in the house of academia, ninth house, or a church member, or even some kind of like explosive reveal about forbidden things, like you find out the pastor has been, inappropriately sexual with some someone in the congregation, because it's kind of scandalous with Pluto up there. Mars is breaking the news in the house of publications and periodicals. For some of you, it could be there's news going through the community, spiritual community, that's rocking people's worlds. Just one example. Travel plans. Jesus, if you're a Gemini rising, sun or moon, maybe refrain from travel. This is Mars, the god of accidents and injuries, in a travel house. Pluto, the god of death, in a house of foreign lands and travel. Eeks! Maybe refrain from travel around the 19th to the 25th of the month. Technically, you've got a lot of action with the tip of the T-square in the 12th house, and hopefully, and maybe outpicturing release in the 6th. But let's just talk about the 12th house for a second. Mercury here is kind of delivering dreams and intuitions and hidden messages and stuff like that. He's more like your dream god, and you're cleaning up with Jupiter here some of your self-sabotage, self-undoing, and some of you are looking for spiritual wisdom, truth, gurus, and teachers. And this is a path that's going to be here for a year, but this can be a time to slay the bad guru, gurus behaving badly, for you to depart, separate, and leave behind a bad teacher, bad guru, bad spiritual teacher, or toxic community, spiritual community. But it might have explosive qualities. Venus is ruling the 12th house, and she's in the earnings house, but also the speech house. Sometimes, I look at her softening the intensity with the outpicturing of the T-square, like the release point in the 6th. For some of you, there's a new opportunity, a job opportunity, a work opportunity. Saturn says the same thing, to up-level your authority, to up-level your financial success. But watch out for the intensity and the calamitous quality of third house things. Like, I'll give you an example. Your website could collapse, right? Mars in the third house. Theft. Someone could do an identity theft using access to your online stuff, and it may crash your ninth house stuff. You have an online course that you teach every year. Now all the content's gone. Making stuff up, but watch for that as well. And finally, watch for really gnarly trolls when Mars is moving through your third house for the entirety of the next 5 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever, until July 10th, because you're not going to like that either. That's one of the ways this Mars can act out, like online trolls, trashing you and making you have sleepless nights, because it's activating a square to Jupiter in the 12th. Cancer rising, sun and moon. All right, so good news, Venus is in your house of you, softening everything up. You got a little soft glow focus, nothing is that bad. But still, Mars is in your earnings house, Pluto is in your 401k or your investments or money you share with a spouse or inheritance money. There's opposition between the earnings and the sort of chunky money, alternative income house, like where you get chunks of money that you don't specifically earn. However, Mars rules the voice. In this place it's speech. You may have some hard words to deliver to some person who's the 8th house person, some kind of business partner, some kind of occultist in your life. You might find that the peak of the T-square can look a little bit with Jupiter there like a blowout with an elder sibling, or a blowout with a teacher, or a blowout with a someone you thought was your ally, someone you thought was your friend who had your back, because that's the sort of fairy godmother friends that you have up in the 11th house. You may need to forge with a new friendship circle after some kind of blowout with a specific group of belonging or friendship circle. Saturn in the 9th house also suggests support from clergy, religious figures, spiritual figures, or professors, trying to calm down what's going on here. And you can also outpicture some support and some mitigating factors from children, lovers, but also from doing something creative and joyful and getting some creative time in, especially with Venus trining your fifth house right now, as well as new romance can be very uplifting during a time of the 19th of May to the 25th, where the intensity between the money houses is incredible. I mean, the 2-8 axis. In India, the second house is the family of origin, childhood stuff as well, your family. So watch again for family disagreements, explosions, especially if it's about money or inheritance, that may play out from the 19th to the 25th. All right, Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign in your sky. Mars is in your house of you. You are sharp sword wielding, gnarly, grumbly energy. You've got the sharp sword in your hand. Watch out, world. You've got that sword in your hand all the way through till July the 10th. Be careful you don't injure yourself, burn yourself. All of that's possible as Mars goes through Leo. This particular explosive energy is a blowout with a spouse or a business partner or a client, or a lot of intensity, if not a full-on blowout. But you're the one with a sword. So who are you? What are you doing? If a spouse, business partner, anyone tries to control you, keep a secret from you, then you're going to be sharpening your sword and blowing this thing out of the water on the 19th to the 25th. Basically, with a T-square to Jupiter in the 10th, though, things are happening here that are trying to outpitch your in career opportunity, and you're trying to forge some sort of new direction, like the forge smith of the gods is up there, to be an artisan forge smith of a new opportunity or expansion in your career. But you could have some exciting, explosive career developments that also don't sit well with a partner, a significant partner, or a client, and you're having to fight back. I think with Venus as the Lord of the Taurus 10th house and the 12th, a lot of secret backroom deals and negotiations are going on, but be careful for women as well, who are maybe a bit of a hidden enemy in this story. And then lastly, we do see that Saturn is in the 8th house trying to sweeten up the deal and bring you some chunky money while all of this intensity is exploding in the sky. This is not bad with Venus, Saturn in a water trine, for things to do with money coming through stock investments or property or inheritances, or just some kind of financial sweetness that kind of makes everything around this explosive 19th to the 25th less intense. And if you are like my daughter and my best friend, a Virgo rising, then what you're getting in the sky is Mars. Sorry about the drinking, I'm thirsty here. Is Mars in your 12th house. Now, he'll be here till July 10th, and he's really good at cutting out addictions and helping you get rid of your vaping habit or whatever else ails you, your alcohol overconsumption. And now, as he slices through here till July 10th, you are good at that. But before he even gets started, he has a showdown with Pluto across the way in the house of addictions as well. So for some of you, you're confronting the moment, the 19th to the 25th, where you may go rock bottom on something. You may, wake up in someone else's bed with a hangover, not knowing where you are. You may, have something happen that just totally turns you around on some kind of substance abuse. You may also have a blowout around something to do with work, and you may also have a change in your work as a result of it with Pluto in the house of the workplace. You also can see that there's an outpitcher to Jupiter in the 9th house. Now, this could be an academic thing where you're going to have some explosive intensity around teachers, professors, religious figures, academic instructor figures, or even trips to a foreign land, which is also the 9th house. And Mars isn't a foreign land house. If there was, for some of you Virgos, foreign land trips planned, there might be a calamitous change of plans. There may be an end to the plans. Maybe Saturn in the 7th house suggests that your significant other is a part of changing the agenda for foreign land trips and travel. You could also feel with Venus in your 11th house, the house of good spirit, that despite the tension with 9th house figures, and or travel abroad plans, things are going to smooth out and work out pretty well. Venus is like fairy godmother energy in the house of fairy godmothers, and she's trying to soften every kind of tension that could happen in academic and other places. Women can be allies and benefactors during this time, and women can also support you in anything to do with partnership, legal contracts, vows, and negotiations, anytime between the 19th and the 25th. All right, Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. If this is happening in your sky, you're experiencing Mars in your 11th house of good spirit, and he is looking across the way in a gnarly opposition to Pluto in your 5th house. Now, this can be about children, if you have them, and some blowout with a child and a friend of yours. This can also be about your sexuality and romantic life. Pluto is going to make things intense here. Mars could be some oppositional energy, that no one in your group likes the guy you're dating, but you think he's hot because you're having hot sex. I don't know. If you have your own business, however, Pluto is going to transform it, and he will make you quite wealthy if you're an entrepreneur or a creative artist type over the next 20 years. But as he starts out here, maybe something to do with your creativity or your independent business is going to receive opposition from the great gains house. And Mars here can reduce your gains from independent business enterprise over the short term until July the 10th, or help you change the direction in which you make those gains. So right now it just looks like tension between a gains in your career house and allies in your career house, and all this tension in your 5th. The T-square points to the Jupiter in the 8th. That's a chunky money house. And Mars is in one of the money houses as well. So there may be some tension between things to do with investments, inheritances, tax rebates, and money you share with a spouse, especially because Mars rules a house of spouse. And so maybe you're having a blowout with a business partner or a spouse around money. And watch out for that the 19th to the 25th of the month of May. Venus softens the deal by owning the money house. She says, no matter what the money blowout is, let me make you popular, appealing, and successful in your career. And Saturn agrees and says, I'll make you a raise, a promotion, or beloved by the boss during this time frame of the 19th to the 24th or 5th. You could maybe outpitch your tension by getting a new job. That's the 2nd house, looking for a new job, jumping to a new job. It looks like a lot of you could be getting a new job if you need a new job, or changing the earning strategy significantly. And that's true for the next 6 weeks, but very intense energy on the 19th to the 25th. Elder sibling belongs to the 11th, and you could have a blowout with an elder sibling over one of your children. Did I mention that already? Watch out for that. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, Mars is the lord of you, as he is for Aries people. So he tries to do good by you, and he's in your career space. Are you going to get fired, change your job, change your career, or someone in the workplace will get fired? That's true between now and July the 10th. But as he starts off in your 10th house of career and reputation, he has a oppositional fight down there with Pluto in the 4th house of home, property, land, and real estate. Now, don't worry. Pluto here over the next 20 years can bring you great wealth, especially through property and inheritances. But before that happens, there's a showdown here in the short term. Mars is like got his fighting spirit on, and he's talking to Pluto at the bottom of the sky, and he's going, who in your home life is trying to control you? Where are you feeling overlorded by someone? What's going on in your career that gets you away from it all? These are possibilities. You can also see that there's a T-square into the marriage and business partnership house of the 7th, Jupiter and the 4th smith of the gods. Shocking news, Uranus. Your partner may have some surprising and shocking and exciting or whatever news that is destabilizing the way you feel about your home. The home work life dichotomy. Your partner says that they just they're not going to work, and they're going to quit their job, and all the money and making money is on you, and you feel stressed as hell. If you want to sell a property, land, property, real estate, this looks like you could be looking at some property negotiations as well. And if so, though, watch for explosive tension between things to do with people and authority and your own contractual agreements, negotiating Mercury in the 7th, who also owns a house of mortgages and chunky money in the sky. Venus is softening everything by trying to love up the situation from foreign lands, foreign shores, academia, but also court and legal matters. For some of you, if you're involved in any kind of legal or court matter between the 19th and 25th, although there's a lot of tension, it looks like it'll work out on your behalf, but not without stress and tension. Saturn is trying to open up a corridor of some money luck, as well as open up a possibility of some kind of satisfaction through creativity during this time. And you can maybe outpicture some of the successful elimination of tension by focusing more on yourself in these days rather than on your partner or business or love partner or gnarly client who's trying to get you fired, for example. With Sagittarius people, sun, moon, and rising sign, the story is that you are going to experience the Mars transit, and he's on your 9th house till July 10th. Watch my Mars video on this, through the 9th house, flowing to your ascendant. So especially positive energy he's sending your way. But in the meantime, he's busy picking a fight with Pluto, and Pluto's in your 3rd house of siblings. These are often younger siblings, but just categorically siblings. You may have a major fight with a sibling, potentially, over spiritual, religious, or philosophical matter, and you're probably right. Also, trips and travel. Don't travel. You're one of the signs I'm encouraging. Try not to travel between the 19th and the 25th. Mars is in a travel house. Pluto's in a travel house. This is accidents, injuries, explosions. I don't want your plane to explode midair. If you are a Sag rising, do not travel. I said the same thing for another sign. So you could also look at this as some kind of resistance or obstruction from an aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, or cousin towards something that you are willpowering your way through in academic environments, foreign lands, or legal matters. Certainly with Jupiter at the tip of a T-square in the house of karmic debts and service, to how you service those debts, and also in a place that looks a lot like, your work environment. If you work in a local area, neighborhood thing, like at a store, restaurant, or shop, this can look like a lot of intensity with a boss or someone in power, and the power struggle may not even involve you, and you're just watching these people fight it out for who's going to win the day and be the supreme manager of the company or the supreme manager of the restaurant or whatever it is. Some shocking, exciting, surprising, mostly positive news can be forged here in work and health areas for Sag rising, but there may be something going on to do with property, home, and real estate, mortgages, and buying, selling that's going pretty smoothly, except that if it involves anything to do with rental agreements, that is positive, but the purchase thing may also be under a bit of duress. I'm kind of thinking Mars might be a legal glitch for some of you. Maybe especially if you're trying to buy a property in another country. Alrighty. Capricorn sun, Capricorn moon, and Capricorn rising sign. In your sky, Mars is going through the 8th house of stock market investments, 401ks, inheritance monies, and shared resources with a spouse and business partnerships. And he's opposite Pluto in your earnings house. Now, Pluto is a divine willpower, apparently, and Mars is the personal. So Pluto is powering up here for the next 20 years, and it'll make a lot of Capricorns rising especially, but also sun too, wealthy over the next 20 years. But Pluto is saying, create the wealth, resource it yourself, do something to earn it. And Mars is like, we're gonna rely on the back end, chunky money making money. Be careful that you don't lose money in your investment portfolio with Mars here, because that's a typical paring away, elimination, and cutting that Mars does in the 8th house. This is true till July the 10th. Because Jupiter is in the house of risky risky speculation and gambling. Do not gamble more than you can afford to. Do not take risky stock investments that are a huge gamble. Gambling is a no-no for you, Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising. Do not put all your money down on, red number 4 on the casino, roulette wheel or something. You're likely going to lose. And you may have some blowouts with your children, but ultimately it may probably work out. And maybe your marriage partner or spouse can help you heal the blowouts with any children. With Saturn supporting the possibility of a trip with a significant other or a business partner, but likely a significant other. And there's a lot of flow for travel and romantic leisure travel. That's a nice spot in the sky between the 19th and the 25th. And if you have your own business and there's a bit of financial tension in your business model, to say the least, between the 19th and the 25th, you can outpicture some support from women who could be allies for you and partner up to help you out. And you could also outpicture some support from an elder sibling. Here's me, Aquarius rising. If you're Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising sign, this T-square is sitting in this part of the sky of you and other. So Mars in the house of significant others, including business partnerships, clients, customers, and spouse, opposite you with Pluto. You are Pluto. You are powerful. You are harnessing the divine will. You are moving through the world, ready to transform, transmute, and metamorphosize your reality. And you may have some kind of kickback or opposition from the house of known opponents. Now, if you have a known enemy, right? Someone that you know that's not your person and they're always, presenting as oppositional, then that's not a surprise at all. And so sometimes I look at this and go, you may fight with your spouse, but they're more like they're the one having the sword up, right? But they also could just be going through a hard time. They're going through a lot of difficulty. But if there's a fight with a spouse or a significant other, just be careful that you don't overblow it. You have more power than they do. You're the Pluto person, honestly. You can suffer them gladly if they're having think of it like the mosquito bite instead of the jaws of the dragon when they're nipping at you with their heels or something. Or if your partner's nipping at your heels, think of them as a gnarly little yappy puppy instead of a wolf, because you have the strength here, Aquarius, to get through this. With this T-square to Jupiter in your 4th house, you could have tensions around home life, domestic, private things, real estate, property. Now, Venus is softening everything from the place of rentals and pets. And so this is wonderful for, securing a great rental, finding a new pet. And she's also flowing to Saturn in the earnings house, and money and work is going super wonderful. So, and then you've got this glitch in the matrix with Jupiter and the forgesmith of the gods who creates weapons in the home. So be careful from some shocking disturbances of in your private life. Jupiter can mean a teacher or guide or guru in the home. Jupiter's here for a year, so I doubt any of you are going to, host a guru in your home. It's going to expand your real estate, property, land. You're going to do well, get a bigger house, a nicer house in the next year. Watch by Jupiter in Taurus. But Jupiter's coming into contact with the North Node as well. And that's intense demon guru energy at the end of May, beginning of June. Watch for almost like an insatiable desire to expand your home at the expense of something like the approval of your partner or the ability to secure a good legal deal on it. I think that with the 10th house looking like the release point for the tension, hypothetically, focus on your career. Keep your eye on the ball. Focus on your career. Keep your eye on your reputation. Let the dust settle. This should be over by, I think, the 25th of May. Anything else? Shoot, no, that's it. I think I just had a bug on my leg. And first but always first is Pisces sun, Pisces moon, especially Pisces rising sign in the sky. What you have going on is you have Mars wielding his sword in the 6th house of his joy. So here's the strength position for Mars for any Pisces. It's not so bad as that. But he does have a dispute with Pluto. Pluto's in the house of your subconscious, your dreams at night, foreign lands and foreign shores, or revenue you can acquire from foreign lands and foreign shores, as well as things to do with your own self-defeating habits and addictions. Now, this is a transformational time. By 2044, any Pisces rising, especially who's interested in enlightenment, has a good shot at it. The Moksha house is here. Pluto transiting through my Moksha house led to 2 major episodes of enlightenment in 2011 and 18. I don't mean I'm woke. I mean awakening. And for you, that's possible as well. And so here we have the first taste of Pluto in this awakening house, the full Monty of the Moksha 12th. And he's having a fight with Mars in the earnings house, like workplace house, health house, addictions house. Because the T-square outpictures in the 3rd, For a lot of you, this looks like travel. Maybe there's an opportunity, but it's difficult to travel to a foreign place. And if so, you may also be able to generate revenue from a foreign place based on this opportunity from the 19th to the 23rd. Siblings can be involved here as well. And there may be something going on with an opportunity coming from and through a sibling at this time. I think that with Venus sort of softening everything up and loving it up from the 5th house, she's trying to bring more joy, enjoyment, pleasure, play, fun, romance into your life, creativity as well. And she's kind of looking at this big fight in the sky going, hey, everyone, simmer down. And she's going to maybe even bring a chance for a romantic getaway or leisure trip with a beloved or with one of your children during this 19th to the 25th. And at the same time, Pluto is Saturn in your 1st house is giving you a sober, realistic, solid sense of self that allows you to also flow to enduring love, lasting love, communicating great success financially through even some lucky money breaks, including lottery wins. That's not a separate story in a way, but this tension in your 3rd house with any of those matters of trips, travel, education, being outpictured here, siblings. Certainly Jupiter in the 3rd could be a teacher. Like you're taking a class and this is your teacher. And there's this big fight with your teacher and this big dispute with the teacher. Who's got the sword? You know what I mean? Mars in the house of especially if it's vocational energy, vocational training, Mars is really gnarly. This could be a dispute with a colleague, someone in the coworker space. And it may hit you in the 3rd house ways. If you do anything online, trolls, this could be very much about trolls as well. You want to lean into the 9th house just to kind of mitigate the T-square and release the tension, pop the boil or whatever. That's like your God, spirituality, truth, the meaning of life, of course, foreign land travel and legal matters that work out there as well. But, the deeper meaning is like go into your spiritual connection to God, truth and wisdom. Find your way through any tensions by going into a much more circumspect, philosophical, and spiritual approach to whatever's happening. Be the witness, observer. Don't get caught up in the drama. All right, I hope that helps you guys, you Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising. If you're new to my channel, I forgot to tell anyone to hit the like button through the entire video. So if you're still listening, please hit the like button in the live premiere. I'm recording on May the 17th. This is going to go to my Patreon community first. Everything does. But because I'm a little behind schedule, they're going to get it probably on the 17th, and you'll probably get this on the 19th, which is a Sunday. Nothing like dropping the bomb the day before things really hit. But you'll probably hear this on YouTube then. Thanks for listening, everyone. I wish you the very best through this very challenging and difficult sky. I'm sure we're all going to blow through it, but don't forget it's only short-lived. At the most, it's 6 to 7 days long. So breathe, breathe, and breathe. I'll see you on the next video. Ciao, ciao.